For the agenda, we're going to start with kind of an intro, prelude on the origin type. Then we're going to dive into the pallet's main purpose, its high-level features. There's still other pallets, but for this cycle, we're kind of closing it because the next is the assets pallet. But yeah, coming back to the agenda, we do the dependencies, how it's used in the Polkadot runtime. Then we do a deep dive demo. Pawan is going to show the pallet in practice. Then we dive into the code. To start with this prelude, it's good to first dive into what the origin type is. So in the substrate runtime, every function call has an origin, and it specifies where the extrinsic was generated from. Substrate defines 3 raw origins that can be used in a runtime, and that is the root, the assigned, or none. So root, assigned is any account like a regular user, and none is usually used by validators to put extrinsics directly inside blocks. But the point here is that runtime developers can also define custom origins, and they can be used for authorization checks inside functions. And we can compose access control logic with that. So if a custom origin implements the ensure origin trait that's coming from the support frame palette, a runtime function can call the ensure origin function every time it's executed, and with that you're creating a method of access control for your function. And so it might be desirable to restrict access for certain functions and authorize dispatch calls only for members of a collective. So that's when we start to form the idea of a collective. So the collective pallet, its main purpose, collective voting of proposals from a specific and limited set of accounts. And voting happens through motions comprising of a proposal, which is just a dispatchable call, plus a number of approvals required for it to pass. If a predefined proportion of the votes is achieved, a custom origin is used to dispatch the proposed call. And things here are a bit different from democracy, where every account with a certain balance has a vote. Here, only accounts that are members of the collective are able to vote. In practice, this is used in Polkadot and Kusama for the council and the technical committee. So here we have a visual representation of the flow, the execution flow, as well as the functionality of the pallet. So the council, a council member is able to create a proposal. The council votes on it, and then the proposal is executed. In terms of functionality, a council member is able to propose a vote, to execute a vote, to execute a proposal, to vote, to close a proposal. And we also have a root, which is able to disapprove a proposal, and that bypasses the whole council. And root is also able to set the members of a council, of a collective. And in terms of high-level features, we have the proposals, which is just a call. We have a prime vote, which is the default vote for absentees. So in Polkadot, the technical committee, for example, for everyone that doesn't vote, Gavin's vote replaces their vote, because Gavin's vote is defined as the prime vote for the technical committee on Polkadot. We have ensure origin trait implementations. And these are custom origins that are used to sort of enforce that the fact that the collective is the one that is dispatching some specific call. And this is very important when somebody is writing some pallet that is meant to be used from a collective. So these trait implementations are always used in that context. We have a threshold, which is the minimum number of votes required to approve a proposal. And we have the change members trait implementation, which allows other pallets, for example, the elections fragment pallet, to change the members. So here we establish that root is able to set the members, but we're also able to configure the runtime such that other pallets can change the members if our runtime doesn't have a sudo enabled. We need some mechanism to switch the members of collective, and that is done through this trait implementation. This point was kind of a gotcha for us. We spent some time preparing the demo and exploring the palette, and we kept getting bad origin errors. That was because we were trying to execute just very simple calls. So first we went for system remark, and we also tried the do something from the template palette until we realized that a proposal cannot execute calls to any extrinsic that you just choose randomly. A proposal can only execute calls to extrinsics that were specifically written to be called by a custom origin. So as a rule of thumb, we have, if you look at the pallet's source code that you're trying to execute, that you're trying to propose, if that extrinsic starts with an ensure signed, that is not enough for it to be on a collective proposal. You usually need to have an ensure origin that's coming from a custom origin that was configured with your collective pallet on the runtime. If that condition is not met, that means that your extrinsic can probably not be executed from a collective proposal. And for our demo, we're going to do a lot of stuff with the template palette. And by default, that is not possible, but we modify the template palette so that is configured to be used by the collective, and so that we can do a simple demo that is easy to understand, but still works in the runtime without giving us bad origin errors. So in terms of dependencies with other frame palettes, this visual diagram is not really showing the palettes that collective depends on. Because there's not much to be explained there. It depends on like the system and support, which like every frame palette depends on. But we're showing here all the palettes that depend on the collective palette. And well, every runtime is its own runtime, right? So every runtime it's its own case. So we're focusing here on the Polkadot runtime, establishing the ensure origin trait. And for example, for palette identity, we have the more than half council custom origin. And that means that this origin will only be able to dispatch a call if more than half of the council has voted on it, and then the ensure origin function call is gonna pass and the proposal is able to be executed. We have ensure member, we have approve origin. All of these are custom origins that implement the ensure origin trait. And here on the right side, we have the elections fragment palette, which is using the change members and initialize members trait implementations to bypass the need for root, right? Because we don't have really access to root on Polkadot. So we need a mechanism to change the members of the council and the technical committee. And that is done through elections. So yeah, these are the dependencies of collective on the Polkadot runtime. And now I pass the floor to Alejandro.
Amazing, thank you. So here, like with these slides, I would like to give a sneak peek of something that we will dive into later on during the code review. And I think this is really worth it to talk about and very interesting in the way that Pallet Collective is one of the pallets that we are using that is instantiable, and we are using it as such on, for example, Kusama runtime, right? So we will find like different instances of our Pallet Collective with different configurations working together in the same runtime. And as you can see in there in the snapshot, like in the screenshot, we have the council and technical committee being basically two different configurations of the same pallet, right? Can you pass to the next slide, please? Thank you very much. And then, right, all across the runtime, we will find these like custom origin definitions, which Bernardo was talking about. These ones will be like heavily used by other pallets, right? Like you have seen in the diagram, all the left side of it like was huge, was really big. Like there's a lot of other pallets defining custom runtimes based on logic that is defined in the pallet collectives. For example, just a really quick mention, what we can see, for example, the very first one is like more than half of the council. So we have a definition in there that is ensuring that either the signee, like the signer of the transaction, is either root or is representing the half of the council, right? And in this very same way, like with other like proportions of the members of the council. Okay, let's go to the next one. And here, like it's basically like just two screenshots of how like these custom origins are configured in this precise case on the democracy palette, right? That we have already checked in the sessions, and it's a really, really big use case for pallet collectives because it defines a lot of custom origins for certain operations that you can perform like with this palette. But like whether like these actions can be done or not is defined by how many people in the council is voting to do this. Like, is the technical committee on full agreement that this has to happen or can't happen? So, yeah. And with this, like 3 little details, I will pass it now to Pawan.
So, okay, so now here we'll see the code in action. So how we can use, what are the functionalities we can use from the collective palette and all. So there are like multiple scenarios we have. And so if we talk about from the basic flow, this is what we already discussed, like Bernardo already talked about this, the basic flow of the collective palette. So what it will be do, like from the council members, like they can create a proposal, and on that, if we go with a simple flow, so there is a check whether if you set the threshold value is right less than 2, then it will not wait for up for the voting period. It will directly execute the proposal. But if you set the threshold is greater than 2, right, so it will go to it will up for the voting. The council members will vote the proposal, and if that proposal got the majority of votes, yes votes, then it will the user can close that proposal, and close internally wraps the functionality of executing that dispatchable, which is wrapped under that proposal. So similarly, this diagram says like if we got like enough votes, then we'll execute, approve and execute that extrinsic, which is wrapped under the proposal. Else we'll disapprove this and close the proposal, right? If we see that like action in running, so firstly, we have the council member, which we configured as Alice as of now. And if we talk about in the code, so this is the configuration we did for the this origin, the custom origin we have here as root, which Alejandro just talked about in last slide. And we have set to the council as half of the council, right? Here one, this you can consider this as a half of the council. So now we need at least half of the votes in order to execute any extrinsic which we are wrapping under the under the proposal. So before that, we need to set the members. So as we already have seen, like we have a functionality present to set the members from the sudo, right? So if we go to the sudo access and in the council, we can set the members from here. So let's set as of now 4 members in order to test the functionality. So here we have Alice, Bob, Charlie, and Dave. So this will give us, these are the like members for our collective pallet, for our, these are our council members. Now what we can do, here we have a governance section also, and inside the council, you can either create the proposal directly from here, this propose motion button, and we have an extrinsic available for that also. So if we go to the extrinsic, this is the propose, and let's consider the first scenarios like we are setting the threshold as 2, so that this will be available for voting, and we should get half of the council member to be voted yes for this extrinsic, right? This is our this is the template module. This is the basic template which we have in the node template, right? We have configured this in a way so that it will work for us. So this is the length bound, and if I submit this, so we'll get this proposal reflected in the council section here in the motions. And if I show you the code in the as I have shown you, like this is the our ensure root or half of the council is our custom type, and this is the ensure members half of the council, right? Root we have provided here. So inside the extrinsic, how we are validating it, like using the ensure origins with our custom origin, right? If we are not providing this, if we haven't if we have not set this here in this specific extrinsic, then our call will not work, as collective pallet will only work with the custom origins. So now we have to vote it. So either you can get a voting option from in the section only directly in the UI, or you can directly vote it through the extrinsics also. So now, as you can see here, we got our vote is reflected here as a positive vote, 1 out of 2. And if we go to the extrinsic, and if we want to do the voting from the extrinsic, so we need to copy the hash of it. If we go to the extrinsic, and we can vote it from here as well. This is our proposal. As this is our first proposal, so index will be 0 for this. And this is, we submitted the yes vote. Okay, so I already submitted from the Alice, so we got the duplicate vote here. If I submit from Bob, so we'll get the success. And in the council, we can see here, we got 2 out of 2. Like this is our minimum criteria, right? Half of the council. So now you can close it from the extrinsic also, and you can close it from here. In order to execute the wrapped extrinsic inside this proposal, we need to close this. So again, the council member can only close this. And if we close this, we can see here in the network section, we got our council executed, and all the other events also, like council closed, voted, approved, and all. And we got okay from this. And if we go to the change state now, we submitted 10 for the template module storage, right? If we check inside the storage, we can see here our result is reflected here. It means our extrinsic got executed. Now, if we go to again to the this flow, like where we set the threshold is less than 2. So in that case, we'll be directly executing the proposal. Now, for that, we have another custom origin for that in order to execute the proposal directly. Okay, let me show you directly from there. So in the extrinsic, what you need to do from the Alice, you can go to the council, you can propose it, you can set the threshold as 1 if you want, and in the template, do something. So what it will do, it will directly, set the council member as 1. Okay, before that, if we set the council member as 1, like if we got only 1 vote from that, but we need at least 50% of the participants. So in order to do that, what we can see, we have 4 members as of now, and if we submit yes vote from one of the member, then it is not 50%. In order to do that, what we need to do, we need to again change our members from the root origin. If I go here from the sudo access, we need to set the members in order to make that extrinsic, make that threshold value will be available, right? If we set it, this is our second flow actually. Now here we can see Bob and Alice. We have 2 members, and if we want to make the threshold as less than 2, then we at least need 50% of the participant, right? Now what we can do, we have threshold as 1, we can make it as 1. The template module, again, if we make it like, let's make it 100, and let's make it anything like this is the length bound, like the maximum length of our of our proposal. Okay, well, I guess I did something wrong here. Okay, so okay, it was because threshold was 1, so this will not open for the voting period. Our extensive dot directly executed, and if we check that in the change state, you can see here in the something palette, we have our value reflected here. So this is all about the basic flow of like the create threshold is less than 2 or greater than 2, and vote and close. Now if we talk about specific to the code, this is the case where we are doing the ensure members check, right? Ensure members, like in the if we talk about the collective palette specifically, which you'll be seeing in the source code section, right? Deep dive into the source code section, we have that custom origin as members and member. If you have members, then yes, obviously you need 50% of the participant, and if you have member, then you have to do only you need to submit that using the one council member only. For that flow, let me show you the another flow. If you go here, this is our next flow, which you will be executing through the council member only. Now you don't need the 50% of the participant. You are executing the proposal directly. So in order to do that, if we go to the again our Polkadot.js, in the extrinsic section, in the council, this is the extrinsic we have execute. This will not ask for the threshold value. It will directly execute whatever you will wrap inside it, right? So for that, specific to ensure member origin, we have this another extrinsic available. Like this is what we added another extrinsic in the node template. Now let me add it again 100. This is our length bound. This is the do something function, right? Let me first execute it, then I'll show you guys like what exactly it is. In the change state, okay, we can directly check that from the event only, like council member executed, we got the result okay. Why we got result okay in this case? Because we haven't provided any threshold value, and we haven't provided the 50% of the participant for this. This is the case of this ensure root or ensure member. Previous was half of the council, and it is ensure member. In this, we are just ensuring the member whether that is part of the council or not. And previously, what we were doing, we were checking whether ensure proposal at least this half of the council. So this is the difference between both the origins, like both the custom origins we have present in the collective palette. We have other also, but for this specific code in action or the demo perspective, we can go with these two only, like because these are the custom origins we have, member and members. But in order to achieve a different functionality, you can change the ratio. You can make it different also. Now this is the part of our another use case of, or you can consider it another scenario, execute proposal using member origin. Now if we talk about the third scenario here, through the collective, we know like how it is different. If we talk about the simple difference between the democracy and the collective, in the democracy, all the participant who has the available funds in their account, they can vote, right? But how collective is different from democracy is like in the collective, only the council members can vote, or only they can create a proposal. So And it provide another functionality also. If you want to make your proposal available for the outer world, like available from outside the collective pallet. So this is the functionality propose external. Here the council member will create a proposal, right? And you can vote that thing, and if it is approved, it will go for the democracy ballot, right? It will internally call the democracy's extrinsic, which will make it available for the democracy. So if we check this scenario also, so in the governance section in the council, you will see this inside the motion tab. You can see this propose external. So what is the how you'll get that? So this is actually pre-image, like requires a pre-image. And if we talk about that, let me show you first that thing. We need a pre-image for that. Again, we'll pick up the our custom node templates function. We'll pick up 100 here. We'll copy the pre-image. Let's submit it for now. And if we go to the council motions, right, and if we go to the propose external, we propose it, we can see here we are calling the democracy external proposed majority. This will make this proposal available to that pallet and in the external section. And we can see here we got threshold as 1. And if we are setting threshold as 1, it means it will not available for the voting period, right? And why we got this threshold as 1 is because we have 2 members in the council only. That's why 50% of the participant, we automatically got 1 as the threshold. So in order to check this functionality, again, we have to go to the sudo access, and in the council, we need to set the proposal, because that democracy's extrinsic requires 75% of the participant, 75% of the yes vote in order to execute that extrinsic. But in our collective pallet, we need only 50%. So it will make that available to that there, but it will not get executed. So in order to make that, available, what we need to do, let's make 4 members as a council member, and we'll provide. And if we go to the democracy again, we create our extrinsic, we pick the image of this, and in the council, from here we can create an external proposal. Now you can see here we got threshold as 2. It means now it will be available for vote, right? Now we can submit it. We can vote from Alice from here. We can vote from Bob's account also. So if I, you'll get the close button here, because we got at least like half, like our threshold value, but we cannot close it as of now, because from here it will get executed from the, in order to call that democracy external proposed majority, it will return us a bad origin error, because this specific extrinsic requires 3/4 of the participant yes vote, right? So it means like 70% it requires the yes vote. So what we need to do, now this will give us the this hash as a preimage. Now what we need to do, we need to go to the extrinsic, we need to go to the change state in order to pick the hash of this specific proposal. So from here we can pick this proposal, so that we can vote this proposal from the extrinsic sections also, right? So now we can vote this proposal. Now here our index is 2, I believe, like, because we have already created a 2 proposal previously. Now we'll vote from the Charlie's account here. Okay, we got wrong index. I believe I need to check the index number for that, because like how many, if you are creating a proposal, so it will increase the index of the proposals. So let me quickly check the index of the proposal, how many proposals we have created till now. I believe this is the different extrinsic we have. Okay, we have the threshold. Okay, index is 1 only. So if we go to the again extrinsic council, if we vote it, make it yes. So now, okay,
You're missing the proposal.
yeah, I missed the proposal. Okay, now we have voted from the Charlie's account. Now we need to vote it from the devs account also, so that at least we can give 100% of the part a success, a yes vote to this proposal, and we can check whether it will be available for the democracy or not, right? Now we got 4 out of 2 votes, so it is satisfying the condition of getting the 70% of yes votes for specific to this proposal. If we close it, okay, we can close it from the devs account also. Now you can see here the proposal got closed from this side, and in the democracy section it is reflecting in the external section, and this is what we have, template module do something, and the value we have set as 10. This is our proposal hash. So this is how you can make any proposal available from the outside the council as well, using that propose external functionality provided by this palette. And this is, we already talked about, this is our major configuration for this. You guys will be seeing in the deep dive section. These are the 2 custom origins we have in order to execute these functionalities, and we have set those origins here directly, right? This is all about this these scenarios. We have multiple scenarios present with us.
So here what we are looking at is like construct runtime macro, Kusama's runtime, right? So here we have the list of every pallet that is installed for this runtime. And I just wanted to double click very fast on our friends here. Council and technical committee are just like 2 different instances of the same pallet collective, right? Like we can see that they are just receiving an instance that is defined in another place. We will check that right now. But that is what this instance is basically what is differentiating them and is differentiating their configurations. So let's check the configurations in the very same like Kusama runtime. But just a quick note, like if you haven't checked yet, like governance configurations are going out to their own file as XCM configurations are. I guess this is a preparation for the governance to launch, as it like brings a lot of new things. But anyway, just interesting. What we have here is Pallet democracy. As I commented before, like it uses a lot of times Pallet collective to define custom origins, so it can have better management of who can do what, like who can execute what in their Pallet, right? And we can see like here this whole list, like we did each appears like at least almost 10 times, I will say. And we have like a combination of the technical committee and the council, right? And for example, we can see, let's take, maybe we already like talk about some of them, but for example, let's take this one here that is saying, okay, like external default origin that will be used like inside of Pallet democracy is defined as, and we'll check that whoever the origin is for this extrinsic, whoever is signing the extrinsic, it has to be an origin representing that the council collective is in complete agreement. The proportion is 1. Everyone is in agreement, right? The same way, like this proportion can like vary, like to the half, to 2/3, or whatever we want to make it. That is not a problem, but it's at least it's like very interesting, very cool to see how this is being made. Now let's jump into the Pallet directly. So what I wanted to mention before starting to see like more things related to the origins and related to those is that we will not see much logic about voting on council members council runners, runner-ups, people that is presenting themselves as they want to be basically like part of the council. That logic is not exactly here. That is taking care about another pallet, elections fragment. Bernardo mentioned it already, right? But what we can see here is like this trait that is implementing and exposing. our pallet collective that is change members, right? And well, we have the logic here, all the functions are implemented for this thread, and this thread will be like what election fragments, for example, will be using to change the council, like the council members. It's not like very trivial how these like elections happen, because it's like a sorted list, and depending on this sorting, like whatever, like who the members you are backing like have different weights, so it's not very trivial, and it's out in another pallet, right? Let's go back to raw origin. So this pallet implements like its own raw origin, defining like 3, but we can say like 2 elements. We have members and we have member, and then we have phantom data. This counts because as it is an instantiable pallet, it needs to receive like the instance that we are defining for this pallet on the runtime, and we will see a lot of times like this generic I that usually doesn't appear in most of the pallets. We are very used to see a generic T everywhere, but like in instantiable pallets, we also like reference to the I, the instance, and that makes us write a lot of this like phantom data everywhere to just make the compiler happy, because this is just like very Rust related. But if this phantom data wasn't here, like compiler will yell at you saying that, hey, you are defining here like this generic that you are not using, like what is happening, right? So phantom data does nothing. It's just like a placeholder. Back to the other 2 definitions of raw origin, we have members that receive like member account 2 times. Member account is defined as a U32, so it's basically this is just a number. We can see the definition up here a little bit. Here it's just a number, right? So what this raw origin represents is like how many council members are backing, like are voting out of the total of seats in the council, right? So this will be like 2 and 4, for example, and that will be like a 50%, right? Because 2 members are voting out of the total number of members that is 4. Just an example, right? And in the other case, we have member singular. This is just 1 person. This just tries to represent 1 person. It's an account ID, it's a regular account. So we can differentiate between like, okay, we are representing a group of people, the collective, like the feeling of the collective, or like some motion, some proposal, or just the decisions, the actions of one account, right? And this matters for later on because we use it like for the checks to ensure like these different custom origins, and also when executing on creating proposals, the dispatches are a little bit different. So let's go down to ensure member, for example. Here, the definitions of all the trade that these structs that are publicly defined, so they can be used on the runtime, as we were saying before, right? So here are these definitions. We can check like this very first one because it's fairly simple. Ensure member, it just checks that the signee, the origin, is part of the council, is part of the collective. So here it will retrieve the origin and then match if it can retrieve a member out of it or not. If it's okay, give it the pass. If not, like it throws an error, right? Ensure members. Here we can see that like because this is the collective representation, right? We can see that it receives like 2 values that will be like people that voted, like total seats on the council, and then it will like check based on like what we are expecting, right? This constant n here, that will be like the value that we want to check if there is enough members or not. Proportions. During you were asking, so here's the where all the definitions came in, right? Like we can check if the proportion is more than something that we define, is at least, again, another proportion that we define, and so on. And we like don't have any more definitions here, but we could check like for exactly 75%, right? And if it's more and if it's less, like we can just say no, this is not valid for us. But the logic is more or less, like in the same tone. Like we want to check, for example, here at least. So we have that. Basically, we're comparing that the number of n here is the number of people that have voted. M is the total amount of seats. V will be the, like if we are doing like in the ensure like the half, for example, we will represent the half as a 1, 2. Let me go like here. We are representing the half because like this is a division basically. So these are the two numbers that this other function is receiving here, these two constants. We're basically like doing the operations and checking if the proportion or like this at least is correct and it's okay for us or not. Does this like answer your question, Jerry?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, thank you.
Super. Cool. From here, I guess we can like go directly to check a little bit the extrinsics of this palette. We have already seen them like in the diagram. Those are all the extrinsics that we can call, right? There are two, if I'm not wrong, that are like under privileged access, filtered by root access, that are set members, and the very last one that is disapproved. Maybe I'm like using the wrong name. Disapproved proposal. Yeah, these are the two, the only two extrinsics that no one else but root can call, right? But I want to like spend a little bit more of time like talking about propose and execute overall. Why? Because it has something to do with these raw origins, custom origins that are defined here. So propose is basically any member of the council and has to be a member because we are taking like that the account signing this extrinsic is part of the members that we are returning here, right? If not, like we basically say, hey, it's not a member. What we are doing is creating a proposal, right? This proposal will be made. I mean, we will create the proposal and everything. And what I want to, what I'm looking for that I'm not saying right now is, where is it? Oh, okay. Well, it's another place. It just click. Okay, this proposal will be created for other members to vote on. Voting will happen as you have seen on the demo, right? This is the extrinsic for the votes. Obviously, it checks that everyone is voting is part of the council or the collective. And then, like once we try to close this proposal, once we have every vote, like honestly, we can close it like at any point in time, and depending when we are closing it and the amount of votes that it has and the threshold that it was defined for it, some actions will happen or not. Like basically, the proposal will be executed or it will be discarded, right? Let's go to the definition of the close. And this is what I wanted to see. This is what I was looking for, right? Imagine that the proposal has enough votes, positive votes, I votes, to be executed when the proposal is closed. And this proposal, because basically this is an extrinsic, right? You are proposing an extrinsic. You are proposing, I want to execute this piece of logic, that is part of this palette or whatever. So it's extrinsic. So it has to be signed and it has to have an origin, right? And this origin, if I'm able to find it, oh my god, where is it? Okay, well, this origin is constructed. This is not the same function where we were, but it's still valid for the example. Is constructed out of like the two definitions of origin that we saw on the very beginning, right? With like the votes that we have on the seats, that is the total number of members in the council or in the collective. And this is our origin. Our origin is members. And this is what we will be working and what we'll be taking later on when the pallet receiving this call checks for its origin, right? And this is why Bernardo was saying that you can, from the council, you can prepare proposals that can only be called from the council. So somebody has to have been like spending some time in creating a custom origin for making my pallet available to be called from a council from the technical committee, right? Because this is not going, the origin for that call is not going to be just any account ID signing. It's going to be members. It's going to be like a collective. It's going to be a group of people that has expressed that they want to execute something, right? And if that call custom or origin, like that ensure members or whatever, like we were using here, right? If this is not defined, and if for example here in Pallet democracy we are not checking for this, the origin filter is not going to pass, and we are going to get bad origins all the time. And let's check like execute extrinsic now. This is the last thing I will mention before opening to questions again, because it does the same, like executes directly, like it doesn't open like the proposal for voting, it just goes and dispatches the code directly. But what happens that the origin that we are creating for this dispatchable is not members, it's not a group, it's not the collective, it's just the person who is executing the execute dispatchable for this pallet, right? And we can see here when it dispatches this proposal that our origin is just like one member that is the very same one like signing this extrinsic, right? So this again like will not pass checks that are of the type of 2/3 of the council, something like that, because this origin is not representing like the collective. It's just representing one member of the collective, and will sign on its behalf. So yeah, very interesting palette, very cool. A little bit more complex than or at least that I thought it was going to be. And for example, at least for me, it was very interesting seeing how all these origins and custom origins are managed and how the implementations are exposed to be able to use them here on any runtime, basically. So it's very nice, very cool, really widely used across all of our runtimes. So that was it from my side. I hope it was useful.